Barbarian is one of those movies that tries to step out of the conventional style of presenting and pacing a horror movie, with some interesting twists and disturbing imagery. And this is one of the movies that, even if I didn't fully like it, I hugely appreciate the willingness and boldness to put something interestingly different that has more of a shock value aspect to it. Welcome back everyone to a new review, and this time we're diving into Zach Cregger's latest impressive horror flicks, if I might say, Barbarian. And of course, I'll have to warn y'all that this is a spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't seen this one yet, you know what to expect.
This is perfectly natural.
The first thing I really liked about this flick is its first act and introduction. A young woman, Tess, has booked an Airbnb somewhere in an abandoned town because she has a job interview the following day, and when she arrives in the evening she finds out that there has been a double booking issue because there is somebody else there, Keith, who has already booked the place for the same night. Now you might think that you can see how this scenario would go, but nope, things take a drastic twist later on, and this basically is what this movie offers for the majority of its runtime. Very few events and sequences are familiar in this film, and you would often find yourself wondering what the hell is going on, and every scene from then on takes you to a completely different turn of events. The first noticeable point here is how the movie incorporates modern lifestyle and certain things that we hear about and even use today, like Airbnb, and brings it into the horror genre, which adds more of attention to the atmosphere since a lot of us are familiar with it. So after Tess and Keith end up spending the night in the property, the next day Tess finds a basement below the house, with a room that has a bed, a camera, a bucket, and a hand stain of blood on the wall. She gets stuck down there, however, until Keith comes back and she tells him about the basement. Keith goes down and finds that the basement goes even deeper below the house, and Tess follows Keith down again because she got worried since he didn't come back, only to find him screaming for help and injured and trying to escape before she witnesses his head getting gruesomely bashed into the wall by some powerful disfigured creature. What I also liked about this movie is its ability to sell you on what it wants you to see, to the point that it leads you to speculate or maybe even believe what is going to happen next. It reminded me of James Wan's style in his debut movie Saw, and the way he sequences his events. But the difference here is that Barbarian is more random, rather than the idea essentially being about a single killer who needs to be caught and narrowing the speculations and focus of the viewer into just finding out who that killer is. The plot in Barbarian instead keeps shifting into more what the f scenarios, shattering all of your preconceived expectations about it and leaving you probably confused for a good while. So as the movie progresses, it moves into a new story and setup, and I was even thinking at the time, okay, these two are dead. Moving on now to the actual story where the real build-up happens, until I realized later on that that is not how it goes down. We're then introduced to AJ, a selfish, self-centered celebrity who finds himself in the middle of a rape scandal, and his associates have dropped him from their project, and everyone has distanced themselves from working with him. We also get to see Portman, if you remember him from 2005 Doom, who appears to be your usual seemingly up to no good creepy dude, who might have some dark secrets, which turns out to be true as he's revealed to have a woman kidnapped and held in his house, and that house is later on revealed to be the same Airbnb that Tess and Keith disappeared in, and it's also owned by AJ. These three stories with their characters are then brought together to tie in with the entire plot, to make for a more sensible and shocking scenario, leading to the full climax in the end, while keeping the unpredictability aspect on. When AJ then returns to his property and finds the lower basement and gets chased by the disfigured woman until he's trapped in a hole, we find out that Tess is still alive and was held captive in that same hole. The woman who is now holding them both captive turns out to be someone who has mentally deteriorated through the years, after she was probably held captive as well in that same place, to the point that she only functions based on her primitive instincts, and she believes that Tess and AJ are her babies now, and she treats them as such. Literally. Both Tess and AJ then get their chance to escape, and AJ finds creepy Portman again, and he is much older and sick now. AJ tries to help him, but Portman ends up shooting himself. After Tess and AJ then manage to escape out of the property, they are ambushed again by the woman and they attempt to run away, but get trapped on top of a water tank. And you might again be expecting here, or even hoping, that AJ would step up and save the day, as this is his shot at redemption, especially after what he has been through. But the unpredictable still happens when his low self takes over, and he throws Tess from the top to save himself. Nevertheless, he gets a satisfying end, and Tess manages to break free. Now, the pacing of the movie altogether was quite suspenseful and well executed, and despite all the events revolving around few characters, it didn't drag on or seem slow at any point. The slow shots and build-ups were captivating for some moments, and the actors were all very convincing, from Georgina Campbell as Tess being the main protagonist, who gave a splendid performance as your usual spontaneous personality, as we followed her moments and events with the emotions that she goes through and decisions she ends up making, to Bill Skarsgård, who initially gives the impression of someone you might want to watch out for, and his introverted personality in that atmosphere gives a sense of alertness as to who he might turn out to be, an actual killer, or just a normal person trying to overcome his shyness to lighten the already tense and confusing mood. To Justin Long, the always energetic actor that really gives life and emotion to any character he plays, whether in action movies like Die Hard 4 or similar horror movies like Jeepers Creepers and Drag Me to Hell. And he gives a strong performance of the self-centered, self-absorbed lowlife who wouldn't think twice about throwing you under the bus to save himself. To Richard Brake, or as I remember him as Portman, your usual fit for a dangerous criminal. And finally to the disfigured woman, who was played by Matthew Patrick Davis, and he did great for his role too. So these are the main points that I really liked about the movie in general. But despite that, the movie wasn't perfect, nor was it even trying to be. There were some plot holes, of course, for me anyway, where I didn't fully understand or was able to fit certain things together. For example, the relationship between the disfigured woman and creepy Portman. My best guess would be that she's one of his victims who was held captive there for a very long time. Also, when creepy Portman shot himself after AJ found him, I couldn't understand his reason for that. Was it because he was seen by an outsider and was afraid he would get caught, or was he trying to end himself for a while, but wasn't able to because the gun was far away from him? Also, the story wasn't all that new and original in every part. It kind of reminded me of 2003 Wrong Turn, in the way that it was about a house in the middle of an abandoned area, where our characters go inside and are ambushed by monster-looking creatures. Some scary moments also seemed familiar in their build-up, but what was more captivating, as I mentioned earlier, was the movie's unpredictability and focus on the shocking twists in its plot. So for my final score, I would give it 6.5 out of 10 for its high level of gruesomeness and twists, as well as its willingness to be different in its own way. So let me know, what did y'all think about this one, and what did you like or dislike more about it? Did you find it mostly interesting, or did you find the plot and scenario less enjoyable and effective for a horror movie? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and I would very much like to read what you have to say about it. And until I see y'all in the next video, thank you very much for watching, have a splendid day, and peace out.